The next two works couldn't be performed live today, and the main reason for that is both of them are written for big bands, large ensembles, brasses, saxes, rhythm sections, etc. But we thought we'd like to showcase them anyway, and we're going to play a video, and they're going to be two together. But before we do that, let's just hear from the composers, and we're going to start with Harry Vreugdenberh. Harry. You're a trumpet player, you're a singer.
Yes.
Did this influence the actual style that you were working with?
It definitely did. By learning trumpet through school, you get involved in a lot of big bands and festivals, and listening to all that music really just instills this passion in you for big bands.
And this actual piece, were you trying to do something with it?
Yeah, for sure. I was definitely trying to evoke the sound of those early 50s sort of Count Basie, Duke Ellington big band charts.
Right, and it's actually a song, and you are singing. He's singing on the track. And apart from Ellington and Count Basie, any other influences?
Definitely arrangers like Sammy Nestico and Harry Connick Jr.
Yep.
Had been big influences into how I sort of put this piece together.
Yep, that's lovely. We're going to leave you for the minute, because you're going to hear it in a minute, and get Isobel up. Because Isobel has just been working in a very similar vein. Isobel Frankish, what do you play?
Clarinet and tenor saxophone.
Okay, and you started with clarinet, then you picked up tenor kind of later on, right? Big band sound, what draws you there?
I think, I'm not really sure how I got there. I started listening to Benny Goodman. I think it was just through like a Spotify playlist, one of those random ones.
Right. It amazes me. The world these days, anything is just available for you. So Count Basie, Ellington, and this piece is called Oh Rainy Melbourne.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It sort of came from Thursday nights. I had a rehearsal in South Melbourne, and I live out in Blackburn, so I had to go on the train and then catch a tram in. But I'd have to go into the city, and in the middle of winter, Melbourne's just, it's dark, it's raining, everything's shimmering a little bit. And I put jazz on, and it soundtracked my journey, and inspired by that.
I think that's just a remarkably wonderful thing. And if there's anything that you can do in Melbourne winters, is to put some jazz on and just work it.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you, Isobel. We are going to look, therefore, at a video now that has been put together, two extracts from Harry Vreugdenberh and Isobel Frankish. Two different tracks. Let's have a look.
Do you ever think of me, love? Do you ever think of me when you're all on your own and dreaming? Do you ever think of me? Some days I lie in bed just thinking about you. I wanna know if you feel the same, 'cause you can never be too sure. I need to hear it from you. Do you ever think of me, love? Do you ever think of me when you're all on your own and dreaming? Do you ever think of me? Oh yeah. There are some things about you, dear, that I can't get off my mind. Other things about me, a picture Can you ever think of me?
We're now going to leave again the live sounds as we set up for the next act and go to a piece of video now. And this piece is by Angus Cole, who happens to be here today. And Angus did music composition under Tim Dargaville. And music composition is the subject that is based on students creating new and original works. Angus, what were you trying to do in this one?
Well, my intention for the piece was to combine electronic synthesizers with acoustic instruments you might find in smaller jazz ensembles, so acoustic drums and electric guitars with keyboards.
And there's a lot of kind of what I would call jazz fusion here. Is that kind of where you started?
Definitely. My inspiration in terms of style was a lot of the New York scene of the early 2000s, which is using as much nerdy music, chords and rhythms as you can and fit that into your instrument.
Yeah, and there's some kind of very interesting chords in here, and I was listening to it just before, or yesterday, and trying to pick what rhythms that were going on. There's a 6/4 in there or something, isn't there?
Well, there's a the chorus of the piece is in 6, I think, and the weird pattern, the weird sound comes from the fact that the drums are playing in quintuplets. So in each one of those 6 beats, they're fitting in 5 little notes instead of 4.
This is what musicians talk about, you know, all of this sort of stuff. This is called Under the Overhouse. Any reason for that?
I have a list on my phone of potential band or song names or children's names, and I just do a scroll sometimes and I land on one.
That sounds good to me. All right. Let's have a listen to Angus Cole's Under the Overhouse. That is quite a complicated piece, but it still works. That's what, yeah, it's interesting. And a special shout out to two of my colleagues at VSV, Josh Milton and Paul Witty. Josh for putting all the images together for all these digital works, and Paul for offering the guiding hand in remastering lots of those sounds so they come up to scratch. We're going to stick with music performance repertoire again, but go to a performance filmed at Nico Schaubl's Pughouse Studios in Thornbury, which is just around the corner from VSV. Each year, we try to get a number of performances recorded there, not only as a record of the performance itself, but as one of the most enlightening educational experiences there can be. Nothing prepares a young musician for a musical life more than a recording date. Unfortunately, Will Hopkins can't be with us here today, which is why we're going to the film. But it also, he's, I believe, maybe overseas, which is why we're not going to be able to actually speak with him as well. But here's what he has said. Will has been playing since age 7 as a classically trained pianist. But he says, I also enjoy expanding my skills with learning other instruments, such as the clarinet, cello, guitar and organ. He also was enrolled in the Allegro Academy of Music and has performed in numerous recitals and concerts. The piece we're going to hear is in fact a famous one. It's Beethoven's Pathetique Sonata, and yes, the most famous movement, which is movement 2, it's the slow movement. We don't have time for the full piece, which is about 6 minutes or so, but we'll get the full statement of the main ideas in the first half of this. This is then Will Hopkins with movement 2 of Beethoven's Pathetique Sonata. We're going to go now to our final video item, and this is interesting and another first. Dinh has written a piece for orchestra, but with some specific sounds in mind, and those sounds have a distinct Vietnamese flavour, which I believe is the first time we've featured a piece with that specific culture as a basis. Let's see what he's trying to do.
Hey, Mark. How are you?
G'day, I'm very, very well. Now, this is kind of interesting. What's your instrumental background first?
Instrumental background. So I started on flute in 2015 and started saxophone in 2019. And this year I recently picked up a traditional bamboo flute, which is actually one of my inspirations as part of my piece. So
This is lovely. And why music composition this year?
music composition because it's always been like a side thing as part of my overall passion for music. So I've kind of like used this class to like expand my horizons and sort of just actually focus on projects that I think will be worthwhile for me.
And I reckon this one certainly is a worthwhile project. And this piece has a specific story attached to it. I see you've got
I
something
have
in
the
your
story
hand.
right here.
Tell us about it.
I do have a bunch of Vietnamese folk tales lying around at home. This is the one that caught my eye and I felt would sound really good in a concert band piece. It's about basically a divine hero who saves Vietnam from enemies from the north. So yeah, and that's
Right, yeah, and that's it. And
Pretty
you
much
have written
it.
the thing. And
Yeah.
what happens, pay close attention to the video because it actually explains things and uses lots of the illustrations from this storybook. It's fantastic, I think. This is called Iron Horse by Dinh. Some great and evocative writing there. I think it's a wonderful piece.